Hello, kids. I hope you guys are doing well. Today, our topic is faithfulness. I wonder, you've looked at the fruit, you can see what ones are there. I wonder which one you think it might be this week. I'm going to start with the Bible verse and then I'll do the big reveal. So 2 Thessalonians 3, verse 3 says, "But the Lord is faithful. He will strengthen you and guard you from the evil one." The Lord is faithful. Now, the fruit, I just revealed it, fruit I'm going to be using is an apple. The apple is an old faithful in England, isn't it? You think every single meal we have an apple, don't we? Well, you could. So for breakfast, you could chop it up and put it in your cereal or have it with yogurt if you're strange. And you could have it as a snack, mid-morning snack. And then at lunch, maybe slice it and have it with some cheese. I'm sure there's some creative sandwiches with apple in it. And some salads, the Waldorf salad. And then maybe at dinner, I'm sure there are dishes with an apple in it, but you definitely have apple sauce, don't you, with pork? And then for dessert, that's when we get to the good stuff. Apple strudel, apple crumble, apple pie, all with custard, ice cream, whatever you fill. Love an apple, don't we? Even drinks. We've got it in drinks. We're basically obsessed with apples in this country because they're faithful to us. We know that apples are going to grow in our country. With our climate and the way that it is, we know that apples are growing. And when we think of faithfulness, it's that sense that we can depend upon it, that those apples are always going to grow. And faithfulness as a fruit of the Spirit is that we become dependable. And not only that, we can depend on God. Faithfulness is about sticking by someone or sticking to something, no matter what comes against you, and to be there at the very end on that same cause. Now, it's not about being blind, because some people may say, oh, you need to be a bit blind to be faithful, to believe some things. Let me explain. Here's a picture of a house and a lovely tree that I drew. That's pointless, but the house, okay? Now, you can see that this is a house very clearly. It's got windows and doors and a roof and a chimney. But there are things that you can't see. And in this picture of the house, obviously you can't see inside. But the one thing that you can't see on this, and you can't see on any house, even if you go inside, is the foundations. There you go, the foundations. Now, the thing about foundations is that every house has them. And if a house doesn't have one, or doesn't have foundations, then it will become a pile of rubble one day. It will collapse and fall. And God in our life is like a firm foundation. If you like, we are the house, and it depends what you build your house on as to whether that house is going to stand. And in life, things can come against us. There can be difficulties in our families, in our school, in our friendships. Life is just full of those sorts of things. And so the question of whether your house will stand up against it depends on your foundations and what those foundations are based in. And so you can see that there's a house there. So you can say, oh, I've got enough understanding to see there's a house. And that's not blind faith. That's just having faith that there are foundations underneath this house that stands. So, having said that, I'd like you to think about people you might call faithful, someone you might call a faithful friend. And when you think of them, they're probably not the people that are there for the parties and the fun times with you and then disappear. The faithful friends are the ones that, yeah, they'll be at those parts, of course, but they'll also be there putting their arm around you and looking after you when you're feeling sad. They'll be the one that notice that you're having a bad day, or the one that kind of comes and sits with you when you're feeling lonely. They're the one that will come and talk with you. And so being faithful is not just about being there in the good times, but it's about being there all the time, consistently, over and over again. And in life, there are many things that will come against us, but we have this faith in Jesus that is a firm foundation. And as we ask the Holy Spirit into our life, as we are filled with His Holy Spirit, it helps us to produce this faithful fruit, that we become that friend that listens and cares and wants to help people. But more than that, it helps us to be faithful to God. You see, there are many things out there, and the Bible speaks about how the devil will come and try to get us. It will guard us from the evil one, was our verse. And there are things that will try and steal away our faith. But the Holy Spirit living in our life will help us to be faithful to God, to continue. And even when we can't see God working, and even when we can't feel Him, we can still trust that He is there and be faithful to Him. Now, as a little side note here, because This is a fruit of the Spirit, of a characteristic of God. And that is that God is also faithful to you and me. It's fantastic. This is probably the best part. What we get out of this is that God says, I'm going to be with you. And no matter where you go, what circumstances you find yourself in, who you're with, God says he will be with you always to the very end. What a fantastic promise we can live our lives by. So this week, if you are feeling maybe a bit low or lonely, why don't you just take a moment to pray and ask God to fill you with his Holy Spirit? And again, as we said, week after week, God will fill you with his Holy Spirit and bring about these fruits. And hopefully this will help you to be faithful to your friends and to God. So our verse today is, as always, Galatians 5 verse 22, which says, "But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control."